All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the two-game slate here for you guys, giving you guys my favorite picks and plays. It's a fun slate. Let's go and get into it. Now, guys, first and foremost, apologies for not being able to get out NFL DFS videos as frequently as I would like to. Really, that's just because of YouTube. If I put out too many videos per day, then YouTube their algorithm just doesn't like that. So if you guys appreciate this video, make sure to show it some love. Leave a like on the video. That will help out a lot. The nice part about this slate is that all the teams are kind of playing for something at least. Now, the Cleveland Browns is probably the biggest worry in terms of predictable players that we can be on because they are 20-point dogs in this game. They're going to be starting Bailey Zappi and DTR. I shouldn't say starting. They're both expected to play in this game. So that basically means we can't play either of them. At running back, Deonta Foreman, I think probably has the best chance of any Cleveland Browns player to score a touchdown, and he's going to be someone that should get a lot of the work in this game because he's their running back. That's really all they got. Okay, so they're going to be without Ford, they're going to be without Pierre Strong, they're going to be without Nick Chubb. Now, I actually don't mind the idea of potentially getting to John Kelly as well. John Kelly, if you guys play preseason NFL DFS, he's typically someone that pops up and plays extremely well throughout the preseason. So not a terrible play there, but also not a player that I think we need to go out of our way to roster. The thing with this year, guys, is the running back values that I've been able to be on over the past 2 months have all been pretty darn good. Amir Abdullah had been on a decent amount. Tajay Spears prior to his injury was on a decent amount, but it didn't matter because the top end running backs have been going off so much. The chalky running backs have been going off so much that if there was an edge, it really didn't matter grand scheme of things. And so that's kind of how I feel about John Kelly. Could he end up having a decent day? Could he end up catching some passes out of the backfield? Yes, I think that's within the realm of possibilities, but they're 20-point dogs. They're going to end up having to throw the football a lot. So we probably want to be ending up on a Cleveland Bengals on a Cleveland Browns receiver here. Now, Jerry Jeudy is someone that I don't know. It's been strange. Obviously had a good game last week. Do we trust that? It's just tough to trust. I don't know. The quarterback play's been so bad. I think he's kind of the logical click here, kind of the easy click as well, just because, again, the game script should dictate him getting a lot of snaps, but are they actually going to play him that much? That's my biggest worry. To me, I'm teetering on the idea of maybe fading him because he's kind of the easy play, and then just getting to maybe Michael Woods, who's been someone that's been getting a lot of snaps here for the Cleveland Browns. Apparently they like him. The targets haven't exactly been there for him, but obviously if we're trying to make a kind of chalky fade in Jerry Jeudy, you go with the next best option, and that to me would be Michael Woods. It would make a lot of sense for him to get a lot of snaps. Now he's currently questionable. Maybe he does end up sitting. If he were to end up sitting, then we could get to Jeremiah Thrash, who I don't know. This is kind of the player that to me makes a lot of sense to get snaps. He's someone that they like in the preseason, kind of popped in the preseason. Just let him go, right? In that second half, maybe with Bailey Zappi in there, maybe get him some work. That to me makes the most logical sense. So if we get news that Woods is out, that'd be the play I'd want to go with the most probably. But either way, at min price, I think we want to begin to probably just Michael Woods. I think that's a good option. And then tight end wise, I do think Jordan Atkins is a little bit too priced up, but he did have 8 targets. He's going to be the tight end number 1. Didn't play as many snaps as you would want though last week. He only played 58% of the snaps. Now, if we get news that Blake Whiteheart is out in this game, then he probably becomes the top tight end play. Okay, so if we get news that Whiteheart is out, then Atkins would get a bump in his snaps, okay, because they'd be down, and then he becomes kind of the easy play. Again, 20-point dogs, they're going to have to throw the football. It makes sense to get to him. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into Baltimore. Again, I've mentioned this a bunch. They are 20-point favorites. Okay, so the issue that we have with that is what happens if it's just Derrick Henry scoring all those points, right? Or what happens if it's just Lamar Jackson scoring all those points? Or what happens if they split it, right? Maybe Derrick Henry scores a touchdown, maybe Lamar Jackson throws for 2 passing touchdowns, and neither of them hit their kind of ceiling that they'll need to get due to their projected ownership because they're going to be pretty chalky. They're going to be the easy plays. That's the issue. Now, people are going to be on Joe Burrow. I'll get into that in a second. But I do think that we kind of have to choose one of the two. And for now, I've been going with Derrick Henry. I feel like that's the logical option. But after that, are we able to get to Zay Flowers, who's pretty cheap? Obviously, if we're playing Lamar Jackson, we want to play Zay Flowers. We could potentially get to Bateman as well. That's where I'm having the struggle here. I think the easiest play is actually just going Derrick Henry, use the correlated defensive DST play with the Ravens and kind of get out of there. I feel like that's the easiest option to go with. I do want to mention the backup running backs though as well. Again, 20-point spread. You guys are probably sick of hearing that. But with that, I actually don't expect Keenan Mitchell to get that much work in this game. Coming back from injury, I thought he looked great. Love that. They're going to want him fresh for the playoffs though. Okay, so I love the workload that he got. To me, logically speaking, it's like, you'll get him some work, don't get me wrong. But that burst that he had, why not give someone like Allie, if you guys are the game's garbage time type of plays, maybe fourth quarter, I kind of expect Allie to be the player that actually gets the most work there. To me, that's what makes the most sense. I do expect Keenan Mitchell to get work, obviously Derrick Henry to get a lot of work, but with that, I don't think we can really find value with those two plays. Let's go ahead and jump into the next game. Obviously, this is going to be where we are probably getting a majority of our plays. My kind of hot take here, guys, throughout the season has been that Joe Burrow is kind of just, he feels like Aaron Rodgers 2.0 without the Super Bowl, slightly worse version of Aaron Rodgers throughout his career. And if the Bengals end up losing this game, it feels just like the last year for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, where, they kind of had a win out, seemed like some chances for them to make the playoffs, and then they basically need a win to get in for the chance to get in, at least for the Bengals. But this is a game where they need to put the pressure on, Saturday game. It's a fun game that it's earlier on in the week, so they won't know their destiny prior to playing in this game. So that's nice for us. I could see that in the realm of possibilities. Like, this feels like the ultimate choke spot for the Bengals and, potentially Joe Burrow. Are we going to bank on that? No. DFS wise, I'm fine playing him. I just wouldn't be shocked to see that. Like, I don't even want to say choke. Like, I think he's going to have a good game. I think we want to be playing DFS wise, but I don't know to you guys, would it be shocking to see maybe the Bengals not show up in this game, to see Pittsburgh finally show up? I mean, the last game against Pittsburgh was a shootout. Pittsburgh ended up winning that game 38-44. So again, obviously we want to be targeting players in this game. Joe Burrow only had 25 points in that game. I think that's worth calling out. But the reason why I think Joe Burrow is going to be an easy click is because Chase Brown could potentially sit in this game. Now, if he's going to be good enough to play, I think he will play. But if he does end up sitting, then the slate becomes much easier, because then we're able to play Khalil Herbert, who ended up getting 100% of the snaps after that Chase Brown injury. And he looked good doing it. Like, Khalil Herbert, we all know is a pretty good talent. We're going to be fine playing him. If Chase Brown plays, though, then that opens up the slate a lot more, because then we're not expecting a pass-heavy script, or as much of a pass-heavy script. Then we could probably feel a little bit more comfortable getting to Russell Wilson, who actually has been pretty decent, 18, 17, 16, and then 30 fantasy points in that game against Cincinnati. Obviously, we'd love that. But let's just say Joe Burrow gives us 25 points again, and let's say we get, 17 fantasy points against Russell, or with Russell Wilson. I would actually be okay getting Russell Wilson in that scenario, where obviously we could spend the money elsewhere for an upgraded at a different position. So again, if Chase Brown is active, that makes it much more difficult. I think Russell Wilson then becomes in play. Now, I do want to call Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is the lead running back here. We have seen that. Najee Harris only had about 35% of the snaps up until the garbage time, and then we saw Najee get a lot of the work in garbage time. And again, if this game is going to be a shootout, I think Jaylen Warren is going to be the more desirable play given his passing game usage. So Jaylen Warren to me is kind of, I don't want to say he's an easy click. He is priced up enough, but if we think this game's going to be close, like Vegas thinks it's going to be close, then Jaylen Warren to me becomes the click that we want to be on, or the player that we want to be on. From there, receiver-wise for the Steelers, it does feel like a guessing game to me, guys. Calvin Austin, I think, is a talent, but he's just not getting the kind of snaps we would want him to get. He's not getting 2 receiver set snaps, which makes sense, being more of a slot receiver. So if this game is a little bit more of a shootout, sure, he could be someone that we could end up on. Maybe we get a lucky touchdown like he did in the last game. He's been a good talent with Pickens out, but Pickens is going to be active in this game. The issue with him is his price tag. I would rather get to Judy. I'd rather get to Zay Flowers. I'd rather get to T. Higgins and stuff on the Bengals side. That we'll get into that in a second. Tight end wise, I do really like Pat Freiermuth. He kind of feels like the easy click. 8 targets last week. Obviously had a good game last week. If you take away the touchdown that Washington got against Baltimore and give it to Pat Freiermuth, been extremely consistent, right? So the tight end position for the Pittsburgh Steelers has been pretty good lately. And obviously he had a pretty good game there against Cincinnati. So it is interesting there. So if Whitehart is out for the Browns, we probably want to go Atkins. But for now, because we don't have that information, because Whitehart is questionable, let's go with Pat Freiermuth here in this build. And so from there, let's go ahead and get back into Cincinnati, guys. So T. Higgins is currently questionable. Jamar Chase is obviously the player we want to get to if possible, but I actually don't mind the idea of getting Andre Yoshivas. He's been something that has looked good. They're obviously doing a lot of 2 tight end, or a lot of 3 receiver sets. And again, if we get news that Chase Brown is out, I think that just increases the likelihood for Yoshivas to have a good game. Had a decent game there against Pittsburgh, had a good game last week against Denver. I could see that being in the realm of possibilities there. So I really don't mind that for him there as well. And then tight end wise, guys, extremely interesting spot here tight end wise. Mike Gesicki, really random game last week. It was just like, he's been so annoying and so difficult this season because the snaps haven't really met the production. It's been basically the opposite. The lower amount of snaps he was getting, like the more random high production games he had. It was strange. Last week that changed. Last week he ended up playing in 71% of the pass plays. So he had a 71% route share, which is pretty darn crazy because that had not been the case for basically since week 11. That was his most snaps on passing down plays since week 11. Over the last 3 weeks, guys, 35% route share, 47% route share, 37% route share. So definitely random there. And on top of that, they are getting back Tanner Hudson in this game. Maybe he plays a good role. He's a pass down back or tight end as well. We also have the tight end number 1. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation because yes, he has been the tight end 1, but in terms of like DFS purposes, not at all, right? It's weird that way. Drew Sample questionable. If he were to sit, that would obviously elevate Mike Gesicki, and he becomes an even more interesting click there as well. So it is kind of weird. Let's talk through it. Drew Sample's out. Mike Gesicki, instantly the top tight end play. Drew Sample plays, and we get news that Blake Whitehart is out. Then Atkins is the best tight end play. If Whitehart and Drew Sample both play, we're going with Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position. It's that crazy of a slate, guys, and that's what's kind of exciting about it. This is kind of what I'm looking at for maybe a kind of starting look here build-wise if the news goes the way that I think it's going to. Obviously, we can't make this work exactly, so what I would kind of do here, and what I have done, is because I have Joe Burrow as my quarterback, I'm kind of fine getting to Yoshi Vash in this specific build. Now, again, you could end up going with Russell Wilson, and then maybe go with, you already have Pat Freiermuth, so I'm kind of okay with that. Maybe go to Calvin Austin instead of Yoshi Vash. And so let's just go ahead and run a sample build here. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to give it 2 data points to go off. I just need to round up here. So 19.5 for Jamar Chase, just kind of rounding up here. Derrick Henry, I'm going to actually bump up to 17. Tell him the data I want it, but we're just going to run 20 builds here. See the optimal build here for the 2-game slate. See how that differs from my thought process. It actually likes Russell Wilson at the quarterback, so not too shocking. Derrick Henry, Jaylen Warren, and then it's pairing up Russell Wilson with Calvin Austin, so I'd like to see that. That's not bad. Chase, T. Higgins, obviously if those two have a big game again, you could do that. The thing I disagree with is probably the 2 tight end sets, specifically getting to Isaiah Likely instead. I actually think we could get away with a 2 tight end build. And actually, if that game does end up being a 20-point spread, Likely could still get work in that game. Typically, I don't want to go 2 tight ends. I don't hate this. Even like in some builds, we're getting Tanner Hudson. Again, he's kind of a pass catcher there. I think we'd rather get to Nate Atkins, but I don't hate that this time around. Interesting there. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a lot. If you guys appreciate the DFS content, honestly, get us up to 100 likes. That'll really tell me to push out more content. And honestly, that'll help out the algorithm as well, help out the video coverage as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.